couple weeks ago, we released a big post and a few videos on how patrol spawns work in Helldivers 2. If you haven't seen those yet, you might want to go check them out before watching this video. If you want a good summary, our friend Lex made a good video that streamlines the information a bit, while the actual testing videos are on my channel. Links will be in the description below. So a few nights ago, we were working on a new video detailing some of the patrol spawn changes in patch 103. In addition, we were getting messages and seeing people talk about empty extractions where they just aren't seeing enemies for the entire time they're waiting for Pelican 1 to come in. And we had started kind of to develop a running theory about why this was happening, but it was kind of vague and we couldn't reliably reproduce results every time. We just knew it had something to do with the map edge and the new spawn logic that Arrowhead had implemented in patch 103. But we were definitely still missing something. Then, out of nowhere, Gergen gets a reply to his post about patrol spawns from user Gray Maria, who says they're pretty sure they know how patrols determine where they're going to come in relative to players. They say that when a patrol spawns, it will always be about 125 meters away from the player and oriented towards an active enemy outpost randomly selected from all available outposts on the map. And admittedly, at first, both Gergen and I were a little skeptical. You know, we hadn't been able to fully describe where patrols spawned in relative to players. We always just kind of assumed it was random. The game would just pop a patrol in a player's eligible range randomly based on the map and terrain available. But this is easy enough to test, so we hopped into a match and found out that Gray Maria was totally correct. Spawns do come in oriented towards active enemy outposts. And again, this is very interesting. We hadn't known this before. We're glad somebody finally pieced this together. But it's the second part of their information that really interested us and is relevant to what we were working on before. They told us that if all outposts on the map are destroyed, then patrols will start to spawn in oriented towards your nearest map edge instead. And immediately, this got our gears turning, and we wanted to expand on this knowledge and see how it interacted with some of the new spawn rules that Arrowhead implemented with patch 103. And what we found kind of shocked us. It's potentially game-breaking, but we will get into that. We will explain kind of these mechanics in a little more detail, and then we will demonstrate how they work in a game and how easy they are to manipulate by players. As Gray Maria found out, patrols will always attempt to spawn about 125 meters away from a player, and they will always spawn in the direction of an active enemy outpost. Which outpost it chooses to anchor off of seems to be random. It doesn't necessarily pick the closest one, and it doesn't even do like a round robin system. Sometimes it can spawn in from the same outpost direction twice in a row, or it can switch each time. It seems to be random. And this is true whether you are a single player group or have multiple player groups spawning different patrols on the map. All of those patrols will come in oriented towards a random base on the map. We tested this on a variety of different planets against both bots and bugs, and we found this behavior to be consistent whether you had a single player all the way up through 4 players. This behavior is absolutely confirmed. I would like to note that we're not saying the patrols spawn in the base. They just use them as a directional anchor. Like, the patrols aren't coming from the nests or fabricators. They're still spawning on the player, simply using those bases as a directional anchor. And then finally, If no eligible outposts remain on the map, the patrol spawns will instead start coming in oriented off of the nearest map edge to the assigned player group. And usually what will make an outpost ineligible, obviously, is destroying that outpost. But there are a few cases where you can have an outpost that's still alive, but it isn't able to be used as a directional anchor, either because there's some impassable terrain that the game doesn't let patrols spawn on between you and the outpost, or you are covering that outpost with what we call your spawn safety bubble. The safety bubble is what we refer to as the area around a player in which no patrols are allowed to spawn. The hard range of this bubble seems to be around 85 meters. And what that means is you will basically never see a patrol spawn in within 85 meters of a player. Generally, spawns will come in about 125 meters from a player, but depending on terrain, sometimes they can come in between 95 to 140 meters. Prior to patch 103, this safety bubble area seemed to be quite a bit lower, and patrols spawning in wouldn't account for the safety bubble of players they weren't assigned to, which we believe is what led to the kind of infamous problem of patrols spawning right on top of players' heads. So now that there's this 85-meter area around players in which no patrols can spawn, if you move close enough to a base, even without destroying it, you can make that base ineligible to be a directional anchor, and the game will start using either a different outpost, or if no other outposts are available, it will switch to spawning from the map edge instead. And this is where things get really interesting. You have this 85-meter area around you in which nothing can spawn, and after all outposts are destroyed, things have to come in off the map edge. So if you take that 85-meter no spawn area and cram it up against the map edge, the game shuts down. It no longer sends any patrol spawns after you. And obviously, this is bad.
Like, unless you're standing, again, like, if you understand this mechanic, like, I'm still within extract range. Like, if you came to me, it would still be coming in.
Yeah.
It's not we're outside the zone.
We're really close right here.
We're not far at all. So, like...
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Now, admittedly, you do have to clear all the outposts to do this. But it's not intended behavior.
No, they're definitely not intended behavior.
Like... They have a system that's trying to do things, and the fact that you can just completely destroy all of the spawns by, like, moving 30 feet in a particular direction is ridiculous.
So, and okay, so if... Here's another question. If we cleared all the outposts first before doing the objective, right? Spawns are slow. We're relatively slow still. Look where the main objective is on this one.
Like, yeah, and then if we ran around the map edge, nothing would spawn on us.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
So,
like, here, let's try it. Just come with me. Let's just run around the map edge for a minute.
And spoiler alert, we did move around the map edge, and nothing spawned. This is 100% reproducible and can easily be exploited. It even happens on accident a lot of times, and this explains why people are getting empty extractions. Most extraction zones are pretty close to the map edge, and you can be accidentally just shutting down spawns by being at extract, especially with 4 players, just because of the amount of safety area that is around all of those players. So now we're just going to hop into a game and show you these concepts in real time and explain kind of how easy they are to manipulate as they happen. Okay, so we've hopped into a match. We've cleared the primary objectives and all outposts except for one. So the behavior we're expecting to see here is patrols should be coming in oriented in a line towards that last remaining outpost. Like this guy and that one that just popped in. They're all coming northeast in a line with that outpost. So we'll clear these real quick and then we'll shift a little bit and they will stay coming in a line towards us. Alright, let's move north. Okay, so we've shifted a bit. We can see these patrols are still coming in line. That's an old one from where we were last time. We hadn't cleared it yet. But they're still coming in line. We'll wait for another patrol to spawn just to make sure. There it is.
Oh, right in front of us.
Yep. So still in line with that outpost. We'll shift again, double check. Let's go way far north.
100 meters.
Alright,
South.
so we've shifted north, and now we're expecting to see patrols coming in oriented off the base,
100
heading
meters.
north towards us now, like
Tagging
that
map.
one.
South. 100 meters.
Tagging map west, 100 meters.
They're not coming from the west, they're not coming from the north, they're not coming from the east. They're always coming
Enemy patrol. South.
oriented off of the base.
Next one's southwest, just a little bit.
Yeah. And there's some leeway for terrain. Like, we got these big mesas, but still in line with what we expect. There's another one.
Dropping a pin.
Alright. Alright.
Next patrol east.
Northeast.
So now
100
we've
meters.
cleared that outpost. There are no outposts left on the map. The spawn logic switches to patrols orienting off the nearest map
Marking
edge,
location.
which for us is to the
Never mind.
east.
Enemy
And you can see
patrol.
these
Northeast.
patrols
100
are now
meters.
coming
Enemy
from the
eagle.
east.
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
We'll shift towards extract and show that that behavior stays true. Okay, now we've shifted a little more south, so the closest map edge for us now is the south edge, and you can see patrols are now orienting from the south.
Dropping a pin. South.
Now we're going to
50
move
meters.
right onto the
Requesting
edge.
air support.
And we're going to show what happens when your spawn safety bubble rubs up against the edge and invalidates that area for patrol
Requesting air
spawns.
support. $100 meters.
So now we've crammed right up against the edge. And as
Calling
you
down
can
a
see,
support weapon.
patrols have ceased. When
Dropping a pin.
your
Northwest, 100
when all the outposts are clear, it switches to
Calling
spawning
down supplies.
oriented from your nearest edge. And when you block that by putting your spawn safety bubble up against the edge, it just isn't able to spawn anything anymore. So we could literally run around the ring of the edge ring and never see a spawn as long as we stayed within 65 meters or so of the map edge. All right, let's move to extract. So, with 4 players, each player gets their own individual spawn safety bubble. That's a lot of area that you can cover. And most extractions are generally pretty close to a map edge. A lot of times, even without trying, you can be blocking off spawns from coming into an extract just by being around the extraction area. Like, all of us currently are pretty much in the extraction area. We're not like crammed right up against the map edge, but we're close enough still that we're getting no spawns whatsoever. This extraction is a ghost town. Now, again, if you hadn't cleared all the outposts, this wouldn't be happening in theory, because patrols could still spawn in oriented off those outposts. But since we've cleared all outposts, it invalidates all those, and we're up against the map edge close enough, it invalidates that, and now all spawns have shut down.
Let's move just northeast, like very, very slightly, and we'll show that we can re-enable the spawns.
Yep. So if we move...
If we go like right there, it
Yeah,
should
if we
turn
move
back on.
just a bit to move our... There they are.
Dropping a
They've
pin.
started
West,
spawning.
100 meters.
So there is a very definite limit to your spawn safety bubble, which again is about 65 meters, or coincidentally a grid square. Once you have that much space in between you, spawns will resume again. But for like a random match with random players, it's kind of at the mercy of where the extraction is relative to the map edge. You know, if you didn't understand these mechanics and you didn't have somebody like trying to block it out on purpose, you're still a lot of the time just going to be doing it by accident.
I mean, I'm standing just barely southwest of the extraction point, and
Yeah,
that's sufficient to block it completely.
like still definitely within the area of where you could conceivably be fighting on the extraction pad.
We're not fighting because there's nothing here.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like we're not doing anything weird. We're not doing anything like out of character for a random Helldivers game. Even without trying to exploit it, you can shut down spawns.
Here, let's spawn one more patrol just to show. So if like we move right there, 20 meters away, we should get another patrol.
Dropping
Yep,
a pin.
down south.
Southwest, 50 meters.
There they are. Yep. Now, we aren't showing this to encourage exploiting the game. This is almost definitely a bug and not intended behavior. So please don't go into a random Helldivers 2 match and start screaming at people because they aren't blocking spawns correctly so that you can safely extract every time. We also aren't doing this to rake Arrowhead over the coals or anything like that. You know, modern game development and coding are very difficult, and bugs happen. This bug just happens to be pretty bad and definitely exploitable. And to Arrowhead's credit, they did successfully fix spawns just popping in on top of people's heads. They just might have added some unintended behaviors because of that. On that note, at the same time we post this video and the accompanying post, we will be submitting this information as an official bug report. So if Arrowhead doesn't know about this already, hopefully they learn about it and can get it fixed ASAP. And that's probably going to do it for this one. We'd like to give a huge shout out and thank you to Reddit user Gray Maria for their tip in helping us figure out how not only patrol spawns worked better, but also helping us explain how this empty extraction bug was happening. Seriously, they are a legend, and their skills in pattern recognition are exemplary, clearly. Also, a big thank you to our friends Bureau of Riz and Lex for helping us test this stuff again. A lot of hours spent doing stupid things in game, so we really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or need something clarified, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. We'll try and respond. Also, there should be an accompanying post to this that kind of goes into a little more detail that will be up, I assume, around the same time this comes out. And finally, if you watched this whole thing, thank you, and we will see you next time.